Okay, so Facebook just appointed a woman who used to advise the president on matters of national security to oversee their AI strategy and government partnerships, which raises an obvious question on what exactly is Facebook planning to do that requires somebody whose previous job was to keep America safe from foreign threats? Are they worried that ISIS is going to hack your ants by nothing group, or is something else happening here that we should probably have a little conversation about?
Meta has named a former Trump administration official, Dina Powell McCormick, as its new president and vice chairman. She'll help lead the company's massive AI expansion, including data centers, investments, and global partnerships.
Here's what just happened. Mark Zuckerberg just hired Donald Trump's former national security advisor to run Meta's AI strategy and build strategic partnerships with governments. And I know what you're thinking. Well, that's wait, what? Like, imagine if your local CVS suddenly hired the former head of the CIA to manage their rewards program, and you're standing there with your extra care card, and you're just like, I just wanted the discount on tampons. Why does Jim from Langley need to be involved in this transaction? That's essentially what just happened, except instead of tampons, it's your entire digital existence. And instead of the CVS, it's a company that knows more about you than your therapist, your spouse, and that one friend who remembers literally every embarrassing thing you ever did in 2011 combined. Dina Powell McCormick, write that name down because you've probably never heard it, and that's exactly how she wants it. She just became president and vice chairman of Meta. Former deputy national security advisor, ties to two presidential administrations, including Trump, spent 16 years at Goldman Sachs despite, and I quote, having no background in finance, which is inspiring, really. We love to see a gal on top. I don't know anything about money, but I'm going to run global sovereign investment banking. That's the kind of confidence I wish I had when I'm trying to parallel park in West Hollywood. And now she's going to execute multi-billion-dollar AI investments, strategic partnerships with governments. What does the company that runs Instagram need strategic partnerships with governments for? Is there going to be a new feature where ICE gets a notification every time you post a story from Cancun? But wait, because it gets so much weirder. But real quick, I'm Lauren Preitra. Please take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed because I currently have a lead against Katie Miller and subscriber count. And Katie Miller is, again, married to Stephen Little Bitch Miller, the guy who looks like he practices concerned citizen faces in the mirror every morning and still can't quite get it right. And I need your spite. So I need you to be petty with me on this one. I need you to subscribe purely out of the desire to make sure that the wife of that man who turned family separation into a thing, we can't see them win at anything ever, including YouTube metrics. So subscribe, ring that bell, share this with your group. We're going to be fueled by righteous pettiness and we're not stopping. Okay. This quiet, systematic transformation of Facebook into a state-controlled media, very CVS of them. Everyone was very busy arguing about whether that dress was blue or gold, but here's what's happened since Trump won the election in 2024. January 7th, 2025, Mark Zuckerberg announces Meta is getting rid of fact-checking. Just gone. Eliminated. He says fact checkers have become too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created. Fact checking is when somebody says 2 + 2 = 5. And another person goes, actually, here's a calculator, it's 4. That's not bias, it's math. But Zuckerberg says, nope, too biased. And what are they replacing with? Community notes, like on X, where Elon Musk posts memes at 3 a.m. and suspends journalists for hurting his feelings. Community notes means any random person can add context to a post. You're crowdsourcing truth to the same people who think the moon landing was fake and birds are government drones. And here's the best part. Trump was asked directly on camera if he thought Zuckerberg made this decision because Trump had threatened him. Trump's answer was, probably, yeah. Probably. President of the United States casually confirming that the CEO of one of the most powerful companies in human history changed his policies out of fear. Meta also shut down all of its DEI programs, completely gone, wiped. An internal memo leaked showing examples of language that used to be banned but is now totally fine. Things like immigrants are grubby, filthy pieces of shit, and gays are freaks, and migrants are no better than vomit. That's all allowed now. Mark Zuckerberg thinks this represents getting back to free expression. Meta moved its entire U.S. content moderation team from California to Texas. According to Zuckerberg, it will help build trust in places where there's less concern about the bias of our teams. Translation, we're moving from content moderation to a state where the government just made it functionally impossible to get an abortion. Meta also added Dana White to its board of directors. Dana White, CEO of UFC, the organization where people punch each other in the face for money. Dana White also happens to be one of Trump's closest allies. He literally stood on a stage during Trump's election victory, and now he's on Meta's board of decisions about the future of Facebook and Instagram, Meta donated $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund. So did Amazon. So did OpenAI. And now we arrive at Dina Powell McCormick. She's resigned from Meta's board in December 2024, just 8 months after joining. And then 1 month later, she gets hired back in a senior role, president and vice chairman, reporting directly into Zuck. Her resume reads like a Rolex of American power. National security director, deputy advisor under Trump, senior White House advisor under Bush, assistant secretary of the state, partner at Goldman Sachs despite having no finance background. Also married to Dave McCormick, who is now a United States senator from Pennsylvania, a Republican who just won a seat in 2024. So Meta just hired Trump's former national security advisor, who is married to a sitting Republican senator who has deep connections to 2 presidential administrations, who has a security clearance to oversee AI strategy and build strategic partnerships with governments. Meta security teams, and this is reported, not speculation, analyzed how Trump could weaponize the Justice Department and intelligence agencies against Zuckerberg. They ran scenarios, they calculated costs, and then they decided it would be cheaper to just do whatever Trump wants. So now we have no fact checking. Hate speech is all the floodgates are open. Content moderation is run by people in Texas. A board with Trump's close friend on it, $1 million donation to Trump's inauguration, and Trump's former national security advisor overseeing AI and government partnerships. State-controlled media. Except not official, no law, no government takeover, just a private company voluntarily transforming itself into a propaganda apparatus because the alternative is getting destroyed by federal regulators, which is somehow worse because at least if the government officially took over Facebook, we could point to it and say authoritarianism, but this, corporate compliance with authoritarian pressure. So she's going to help Meta build massive AI infrastructure, data centers, surveillance systems, algorithmic content delivery, and create partnerships with governments to deploy it. Meta is building AI that can generate content, moderate speech, and decide what billions of people see. AI that can influence elections, shape public opinion, and control narratives at scale. And the person overseeing this is somebody with a national security background, deep Republican government connections, and a marriage to a sitting Republican senator, about a company that controls about this company controls about a company that controls how 3 billion people communicate voluntarily, turning itself into a state-aligned media infrastructure, because today the targets are immigrants and queer people. And everything else, Meta's going to allow hate speech, go to town. Tomorrow, you could be targeted. Amnesty International said Meta has effectively declared open season for hate and harassment, targeting its most vulnerable and at-risk people. They pointed out Meta's reckless contributions to genocide in Myanmar and ethnic violence in Ethiopia. One former Meta employee said, "I really think this is a precursor for genocide. Real people's lives are actually going to be put into danger." And Trump congratulated Dina Powell McCormick on Truth Social, called her fantastic and very talented. So we've reached the fun point in history where your Instagram feed is basically Pravada, but with better filters. At least when authoritarian governments took over newspapers, they had the decency to be so obvious about it. There'd be like a military coup, soldiers would march into the newsroom, and everyone would be like, well, guess we're state media now. But this, like, if the government took over the news just by asking nicely, that's kind of how it went down, and threatening just a little bit. And the tech CEOs were like, you know what? Sounds great. Here's $1 million. Please don't investigate us. This is how authoritarianism works. Like, why do the messy work of actually seizing control when you can just make it really uncomfortable for billionaires until they volunteer to do it themselves? Somewhere, Stalin is watching this from hell going, wait, you're telling me I could have just threatened the newspaper owners instead of sending people to the gulags? Would have saved me so much time. And Goebbels is taking notes like, so they eliminated fact-checking voluntarily. We had to do that by force. These guys are innovating. The future of authoritarianism is public-private partnerships. The government saying it would be a shame if something happened to your company, and tech CEOs responding with, say no more. Here's our former moderation policy. We don't need it anymore. And the best part, we all get to participate every time you scroll Instagram and listen. That's what's going down. And listen, Before you guys start saying, let's boycott Meta and Instagram, please remember that a lot of us, myself included, are trying to make a living here while doing the free labor of giving you this information. Put my entire career on hold. I am bootstrapping this work and absorbing all the costs of labor I put into this and the studio rentals, all of it for you. So before you jump to delete your account and all this, why don't you consider following me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok instead? My handle is the exact same everywhere. I am Lauren P. And this is where I put this information out in bite-sized bits. You can also share it and make sure you're subscribed here. Hit that notifications bell, because staying informed and amplifying these voices, such as yours truly, that's an important act of resistance. That's just as powerful of an action as writing boycott Meta in my comment section. We can fight the system while we still have the tools, while we can. So that's how we win. The people building the system are counting on you to not pay attention. Let's prove them wrong.